So, picking up from part one, we may address one type of user or many types of users simultaneously. And these may include the non user, the early experimenter, the recreational user, the secret user. I think that any type of user has some sort of secretive behavior. There's always somebody that we don't want to know about our use, right? Because of the stigma and legality of substance abuse. Like in Behind the Orange Curtain, we saw that the siblings and the friends knew about the substance use, and oftentimes the parents did not. Then there's also the problem user, and the problem user may want help or may not want help, and then the former user, the user who either stopped on their own or sought treatment and is now in recovery. Next, let's take a look at what is a comprehensive prevention program. So a comprehensive program, it may range from a very broad approach at the societal level to a community-based, school-based, family-based, or individual-based intervention. And oftentimes it may include some institutional approach, method, or perspective regarding drug prevention. In essence, comprehensive drug prevention programs are broad based and affecting single and multiple groups in a society, and can also include the entire society and how they approach and deal with the problem of substance use. So, here are a couple of examples of comprehensive approaches. First is the harm reduction model. Here, we're not asking the user to stop use completely, but asking them to do some sort of safer using. A good example of this is needle exchange. So we're not asking the user to stop using, but we're asking the user to engage in needle exchange for the prevention of bloodborne pathogens like HIV and hepatitis C. And we do this in a non-judgmental way. So we want to meet the client where they're at, let them know that we're here to help and that we're encouraging this behavior. And, down the road, perhaps they can look at sobriety, but here and now we're trying to meet them where they're at and implement this baby step in safer behavior. Next is the community-based prevention. And here we're looking at the coordination of parents, businesses, churches, law enforcement, government agencies, that we're all coming together to create a supportive culture of non-substance use. And it's important here that if we are creating a community-based approach, that we know what the community needs, and also that we implement evidence-based and best practices. School-based prevention, many of you I'm sure have been exposed to some sort of school-based prevention like the DARE program, and this happens at grammar school, junior high, senior, and colleges. Next is family-based prevention. Here we're looking at how to improve the family, specifically the parent-child relationship, through positive communication, conflict resolution, and other skill-building activities. We also may see something like parenting classes or support groups or family counseling. Some drug education strategies may include information, also information on the consequences and risks and effects to the mind and body of substance use, and also taking a look at values, beliefs, and attitudes. So, what are those characteristics that you hold dear? What kind of person do you want to be? And what does that type of person do? How do they behave? What values do they hold dear? Next, let's take a look at some specific drug prevention strategies. First is a scare tactic approach. Many of us have seen shows like Scared Straight, where you have convicted felons behind bars with a group of youngsters speaking to them very sternly in hopes of deterring them from a life of substance use, crime, and incarceration. And this may be kind of a one-time dose intervention. I think that this one probably has a pretty good short-term impact, but maybe not so much of an impact in the long term. Next is information only about the harms and consequences of substance use. I believe that interventions that combine information with other strategies are more effective than information alone. Next is the attitude change model. This one is working on those internal factors that we talked about, trying to enhance individuals' self esteem, self efficacy, and other personality characteristics that are known to either be protective or at risk for substance use. Next is a social influence model. Here we're talking about peers and how to resist peer pressure. So there's a lot of modeling, reinforcement, and role play activities, teaching individuals how to be leaders and assert themselves as opposed to followers. And lastly is the ecological approach. Here we're talking about environments, not only physical and built environments, but also social environments. So who we surround ourselves with and how those social environments either endorse or do not endorse substance use has an effect on our substance using decision making. We have a saying in recovery that if you hang around the barber shop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. So, who you surround yourself with definitely influences your decision making. And the built environment, we're talking about, advertising, community structure, cohesiveness, drug and alcohol, and tobacco advertising, and so forth. This slide is a little bit redundant, but again, we're talking about strategies that include the dissemination of information and also cognitive and behavioral skill building. If you change the way you think about something, chances are your behaviors are going to follow. Also, mass media programming is the media, all media platforms. Are we showing a balanced portrayal of the positive and negative aspects of substance use? Also, grassroots organizations, very important because those people are often the gatekeepers of our community, the ones that we trust and can identify with, and will listen to the message if it's coming from them. Leadership training, also very important. Many individuals don't know what it means to be a leader, or perhaps don't have strong leadership role models. So, leadership training is very important. And lastly, policy analysis and reformulation. So, what are our existing policies and what's working and what needs to be overhauled? So, how do we make drug education programs more effective? Well, we certainly have to employ deliberate strategies. We have to make our interventions targeted and tailored. If the message does not resonate with the individual or the program participant, it's not going to be realistic. It needs to be responsive to one's culture, gender, ethnicity, and so forth. We also have to effectively market our programs. If no one knows that the program exists, it's not going to meet its goals and objectives. And that goes hand in hand with allocating resources. I know that that is a tough area these days because everybody's competing for the same pot of money, but in order to have a effective, comprehensive program, we need to put the funds, the people, the energy into it. And also, ongoing program evaluation, very important. We need to know what's working. We need to know if a program is doing what it set out to do. A couple examples of drug prevention programs. Many of you have been exposed to the DARE program at the high school level. And there's also drug courts. Drug courts are treatment in lieu of incarceration. And I had the opportunity to sit through one of these drug court sessions, and they are very supportive. Uh, You'll see that people really come together and rally around these individuals to support them in their recovery. So, on their team are the judges, the prosecutors, the treatment provider, law enforcement, and others over a 1 year period to support the individual's recovery and reintegration into the community. And this concludes Chapter 17, Part 2. Thank you for your attention.